Hey everybody, and welcome along to this week's edition of the Irish Golfer Podcast, brought to you in association with Flowgas. Visit flowgas.ie for all your energy needs. And as you know, by the current ad campaign, the gas part about Flowgas is that's the gas part of it. It's only part of it. They do electricity as well and all sorts of energy needs they will fulfill. So visit flowgas.ie, and as you'll see by the current ad campaign too, they are giving Emerald Park tickets away to people who take out new plans and existing customers who are new. So yeah, big shout out to Flowgas. Visit flowgas.ie. Right, Peter Finnan here as always, and joined by Ronan McNamara. How are you keeping, Ronan?
I'm good. I love how we've just gotten straight into the Flowgas thing, because we don't have like any Meads, Liverpool or Kildare things, Leeds to talk about this week either. And it just sums up really what last week was about. It was just kind of mundane. Like, we're just going to jump straight into PGA and just get it over with. Get over with what was probably the most expected win of all time going into the final round.
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, we get stuck into that now in a minute. But yeah, the PGA, like Quail Hollow, there's so many angles to go at on this. It's kind of the only show in town this week to go through. So going through a recap of this, it was probably the most soulless golf tournament I've ever had the privilege of knocking on for 63 holes of it anyway.
Yeah, it's the first 2 days were, oh god, I actually felt sorry for the lads over there. Like, one of the boys was texting me, he was covering it, and he was like, honestly, you're way better being off at the League of Ireland tonight instead of being over here in Quail Hollow. There was just nothing going on. Like, even Rory not doing any media just completely takes away so much from a golf tournament. And it kind of half delivered on the Saturday at one stage of Scheffler, Bryson, and Rahm in the top four. And then again, as you said, for 9 holes of a golf tournament, we finally had a bit of needle for once. But even then, like, the lads kind of fell away, and Scheffler, just his reaction to mistakes is just what separates him from everybody else. And he turned what started off as a cakewalk, looked like, oh god, he might throw this away, to an inevitable cakewalk again.
Yeah, he's so in control. We get stuck in sort of player by player now in a minute, but overall course setup, like I said soulless when I brought this out first. It's just that the PGA, and we've done bits on this throughout the week. This tournament just has zero identity. It's like a standard tour stop.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I feared the 2022 under shootout. I feared it would be another Valhalla like it was last year, but I think they got the course set up spot on.
Yeah, they got the course setup spot on. I'm not a massive fan of Quail Hollow. It's very few things that have in common with Shane Lowry, but I'm into Shane
Yeah.
Lowry camp on this golf course.
Yeah, so am I, and because it is a PGA Tour golf course, it is, which is, it does take away from the PGA, because the PGA was going well. It's been going well since it moved back into that May slot. Even the golf course they brought it to over the last few years, and I think with Valhalla and Quail Hollow, they've gone back to what it would have been before this, just regular PGA Tour course. You don't really remember any holes. There's nothing stand out about it, maybe other than the 18th and the drivable par 4 14th, which is a great hole in fairness. But like, even like the Green Mile, it's supposed to be notoriously difficult. I suppose by modern standards, it's not really anymore, considering what Scheffler did on it on Saturday as well. Yeah, like, just a major that I'm kind of glad has been and gone, and it says it all that I forgot to put any bets on. So what more do you want?
No, but when you bring up the Green Mile there, like course setup, there's two things stuck out for me. The difficulty of the Green Mile, the last 3 holes, when you look at the stats on this, 16, 17, 18th ranked, the third, the second, and the first most difficult holes for the week. If I was to give you a guess how many over par, right? So I'll tell you, holes 1 to 15, right, were plus 172 for the week. 16, 17, 18. Give me a guess of what you think they are over par for the week.
Are we talking higher or lower?
Oh, higher, Bob.
210,
No.
225,
Double it plus change.
like 500 over.
Yeah, 519 over for 16,
Jesus.
17, 18 the field were for the week, and only 172 for 1 to 15. So that goes to show you how difficult that finish was.
It didn't seem like it.
Yeah, no, the
It
stats were
didn't seem like
mental.
that at all.
The stats were mental. Sure, even we'll get stuck into Scottie Scheffler now in a minute, but even in his winning score, so 11 under winning score, 9 under par of that was made. So he was 9 under for 14 and 15 for the week.
Jesus, yeah.
So
And that was the difference, because you look at Ram.
yeah,
He didn't. I think he didn't. He was unlucky not to birdie the 13th, 12th or 13th. That horrendous slip out on the high side, and then he doesn't birdie 14 or 15 when he was in position to do so. And he did get a bit of bad luck on both those holes as well. But there is, like, a 3 or 4 shot difference, and that's
100%.
ultimately
That is
what
the
it
difference
proved.
in it. But yeah, no, what really stuck out for me, yeah, I'll semi agree with you on the course setup. They were kind of messed around by weather, and then they didn't adapt. And that's the one thing that really peeved me off watching this. The whole mud ball situation, they have it every year since this tournament's gone to May now, in where they host these things. And they should have been placing on the fairways. There is no question about it. But the PGA America are so stuck up their own arses that they refuse placing on the fairways. I just thought it was an absolute joke. And for someone like Scottie Scheffler to come out like after the first round, second round in his presser stuff, yeah, have to go on record. Fair play to him for doing press this week as well. But yeah, he comes out and he said, like, I practice my whole life for this to perfect every shot, and then with mud balls like this, they just bring chance and luck into it, and it really, really annoyed him. And yeah, it's one thing I'd be highly critical of the PGA America of, was not adopting just placing on the fairways.
Yeah, like if it was a regular PJ Tour event, there would have been placing 100%. Whether they needed it or not, there just would have been. Because I know Harrington doesn't think there should have been, but I suppose it depends what side of the fence you fall on. Like, especially when you see what happened to Larry, we'll get into that, no doubt. Like, how can you not have placing
Yeah,
when something
no,
like that happens to Shane?
no,
And
totally,
it cost
totally.
him.
It did cost him. Yeah, no, it cost him the cut. Like, and you just don't know if you make the cut, what happened. Like, all the leaders came backwards at the weekend. When you look at it, like Johnny Vegas got it to 10, 11 under at one stage, and that won the tournament. He was that after a round and a half, 2 rounds.
Yeah, he doubled the 36th,
Yeah.
and he never really kind of recovered from that.
But yeah, getting stuck in anyway. Scottie Scheffler, like in my head, he won it on Saturday evening when he picked up five shots into the last 6 holes. That sort of 1 hour stretch, he just literally put the whole field to the sword.
Yeah, he and the way he did it as well was just like he won this with a C game really, and then there were flashes of absolute brilliance, and that was obviously one of them. But like what it did was, getting to 11, you look at the likes of Bryson and Ram, who were I think 5 and 6 around that time, and you're thinking they might get to 10, but like that probably still won't be enough, and it wouldn't have been enough even though neither of them were actually able to get to 10 at any point during the final round. Like he just separated himself that bit much where he did have that cushion even when he did kind of start to wobble on that front nine. But like you saw how he reacts to mistakes. Like it's completely water off a duck's back. And you compare that to, Rory, who wears his mistakes at the Masters and, brings you along for this emotional roller coaster. Like Scheffler just doesn't let it come into his head at all.
Yeah, that's like, it's backed up again by the stats. He made 9 bogeys or worse, like 9 times this week, and he bounced back 6 times on the hole after he's made bogey or worse with a birdie. Like that, he's just the ultimate competitor. Like it's like the pressure doesn't affect him like other. And it's the one thing that annoyed me about the field in this tournament was just the lack of ability to stick around and ask questions of Scottie. And this happens a lot in his wins, that he is that much mentally stronger, it seems, with dealing with ups and downs throughout the round. I don't know, is he oblivious to it, or it's going on and he just doesn't show it? I'd say the latter. It's going on, he just doesn't show it. He's great with dealing with it. But one thing that I had when John Ram got there last night, and I'm in all WhatsApp groups and going back and forward, and I was like, just don't make a mistake from here. Mistakes are what's going to cost you this. You don't need to go pushing for birdies. Make him win this tournament. Now,
Yeah.
the stats show that he probably would have, but you don't know. Like, he knew, because he said it afterwards, he knew John Ram got tied with him. Ram stuck there for like 2 holes, but if Ram holds one of those putts before he got to like the last 3 or 4 holes and goes a shot clear, it's rarely happened to Scottie in the last round of a tournament that someone overtakes him and okay, how does he react? He's always in cruise control. He's always in control of his own game, stays in his own lane so much better than anybody else. Doesn't let things distract him and he lets people wilt and die around him, and his consistent A to B to C golf is always enough. And you know he has another gear, but he rarely gets asked to switch gears by other players.
And like it's reflected in his actual 3 major wins. Like he won the 2022 Masters by 3 shots, 2024 Masters by 4, and he won last night by 5. And it's one of those you're kind of looking at the leaderboard at the end and you're thinking, did he really win that by 5? I mean, like 2 hours ago he was under the gun here. But yeah, like he's never really been pushed right to the finish line, and like he's never had to go toe to toe with somebody to win one of his majors because he doesn't give you the chance. And that's
the last time I remember someone. Yeah, the last time I remember someone totally stepping up to him was Rory in the FedEx Cup that time.
Yeah, that would probably be the last time I remember him actually being challenged. And and again, he had a big lead at that stage as well. And McIlroy was the only one who was able to sustain that challenge. Like at the Masters in 22, he flirted with him. The Masters in 24, like Ludwig again, had a bit of a go, but didn't sustain it. And then last night, Ram fell away, Bryson fell away. Like Harris English ends up coming second, or shared second out of nowhere, like as well. Like, it was a tournament that ended on a bit of a damp squib as well after an hour and a half there, where you're thinking, right, we finally, have a major championship on our hands here.
Yeah, no, but like, it's no surprise though with Scheffler. Like he was excellent in all departments, ranked first in strokes gained tee to green, 8th in strokes gained approach. He only took 107 putts over the 4 days and played the par 5s and 8 under par. Like they are unbelievable stats.
As long as you have that ability to take apart the par 5s and you're putting well from that 6 to 8 foot range, like you can get around with your C game, and that's what he did.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like you kind of weren't punished around this golf course as much as you thought. Yeah, the rough was juicy, it was thick, but like Friday and Sunday, he hit just 6 of 14 fairways both day, and like if he drives like that around Oakmont, the tournament just doesn't go his way.
Yeah, I get what you mean. The rough will always be more penal in Oakmont. It'll be a textbook US Open setup where they're trying to get level par to be the winning score, maybe even higher than that. But again, like his ability to scrap, and he's an unbelievable chipper as well. That needs to be said as well. Like he can, like I think middle of the round there yesterday, he missed the fairway so many times left on the front 9. He missed the fairway, I think maybe on the 9th left, and he said to Ted Scott, I felt like I hit that really well. And Ted Scott just, being Ted Scott, just make a little subtle alignment change, aim a couple of yards further right. He ripped one up the 10th, and he was like, yeah, we're back in business. We have this now.
Yeah. Because he did have a dose of the left on. But yeah, it's mad to think we're talking about Oakmont. Like Oakmont's only 3 weeks away at this stage, 4 weeks away. And like if he wins at Oakmont, he's a chance to do the Grand Slam in Portrush.
Do you know what? In fairness, that would be mental.
You'd have Larry
coming home, like your Rory mania, and then you've Scottie coming to shit on everyone and complete the career Grand Slam.
Like only 6 people have done it in like 66 years, and then you get 2 lads doing it in 6 weeks. It kind of takes the piss out of the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe after this week, Spieth is a long, long way from doing it. I didn't know he'd no top 10s in the PGA since he won the Open.
Yeah, that's like 2017. That's a long time with no top 10s.
But yeah, these Grand Slams they're getting a bit easy to get close to.
But that's the thing. Even if we'll get into John Ram as well. If John Ram would have won yesterday, he could have done it in Portrush as well.
Yeah, Jesus, yeah, God.
It's mad, like when you think about how close some of them are.
Matty Fitz could have been halfway.
Matty Fitz, yeah, exactly.
Grand
JT
Slam,
Poston and the lads.
Matty Fitz to win a Grand Slam before he gets in away Ryder Cup point.
But no, yeah, you have to tip your hat to Scottie. Like even there was a little bit of pressure on going into this final round as well on him, and it did show on the front line, but like people were asking questions: is he just an Augusta specialist, or can he win a major? Because he hasn't closed out before yesterday, the PGA Championship before, and he had a really good record, like tied 4th, tied 8th, miscut, tied 2nd, tied 8th, like from 6 starts. That's unbelievable stuff without getting the job done, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And I suppose it adds to your legacy when you can pick up, multiple majors, not just, being a specialist at one of them. Like, I think he'll probably win 3 or 4 Masters, to be honest. But this obviously puts him, on the road towards a Grand Slam, while we've the subject brought up. And he probably is the most likely after Rory to get there. Like, I think he'll, like, by this time next year, could he have more majors than Rory, or at least have 5 and be alongside him? You'd probably say that's a good bet.
Yeah. It could be. It's just the adversity that he's overcome so quick. Like, I've called out that putting stats, like 107 putts for the week from a man who wasn't in the top 100 putting stats like 3 years ago.
It's completely transformed his game. I think McGinley mentioned it somewhere. I think he's in the top 20 putters on tour now. Maybe he leads the tour in bounce back ability, and I think he's one of the top players now inside from 10 feet. And that's a pretty, almost unstoppable formula when you add on top of how good he is at, controlling his golf ball from the tee, his short game around the greens, and like his iron play is just phenomenal as well. Like, he is the perfect package. And like, I think him and Rory, obviously Rory didn't have his best week for obvious reasons, but I think him and Rory are just a class apart, and they both play a different style of game as well, which I think when they go toe to toe would be amazing if we could get it in a major. Because I think that's what the season's missing. I think we're in the post Rory era in terms of he's won his major now, so we're kind of looking to see what's golf going to be like for the next 5 years. And looking at last night, it's not too enthralling. So we need something.
Do you know one thing though? I've been very critical of Scottie like over the last year because I just found him so hard to relate to. He's too machine-like for me compared to the emotional.
You haven't been to jail. You wouldn't relate to him at all.
Yeah. No, but I am warming to him now. Like, he's making more mistakes. He's showing emotion. He's human. Yeah, going to jail is part of it. And then trying to chop his own hand off at Christmas as well. Like, you can relate to the man a lot.
Yeah. And look, it just shows he went to jail, rehabilitated himself, won a major in the space of a year. The system works.
He's a rejuvenated man.
He
did his time. He came out and he's after reforming his life.
But
all 12 hours of his warm-up. Wasn't even, it was about 6 hours.
Yeah, Nike had a good marketing campaign there. Whoever's there deserves like double wages for their salary. It was like, I think, number 1 player in the world or best player in the world, guilty. A nice nod to what happened last year.
I know, it's good. No, moving on from Scottie, Jon Rahm, like, I'm glad I did say I was very interested going into this week, and I mentioned it on last week's pod, how Rahm would do. I did fancy him this week, but he did everything right bar the last 5-6 holes, just didn't stick around. Got very unlucky on the back 9 yesterday, but I'm very excited to hopefully he can build on this. Going into Oakmont and going into Portrush, I really do fancy Jon Rahm has the bit between his teeth, and his game is showing good signs of being where he wants it to be.
Yeah, I'd agree. And he's someone, when he's in contention, does bring a bit of that box office flair that you want to see in the final round. He does engage you and suck you in. Like, he was desperately unlucky with a couple of putts on 12, 13, then not birdie in 14 or 15 was the killer for him. And look, the finish at the end is obviously, it happens. But it was a weird one for him. He usually, when he's been up there, like, he's one of those guys who expects to convert, a chance to win a major. And it was weird to see him kind of fall away the way he did. Maybe it's because he hasn't been around the thick of a major for a while now. But like, again, like, we don't see enough of these guys. Golf with Rahm, golf with Bryson at the top of these leaderboards. Koepka, you name it. It's just better.
Yeah.
Like,
totally.
No disrespect to Alex Noren, who, I'm a fan of, and I think a lot of people would have wanted him to do well last night and hold his position at least. And then you've got like other unheralded players like Vegas, Davis Riley, it doesn't suck you in. So you did want Rahm and Bryson, love them or hate them, to go and have a run at Scheffler, and they did for a brief period.
Yeah, they did. What were your thoughts on Bryson, actually?
I've long said he's one of the best putters, I think, under pressure, and they just didn't go in for him last night. He seems to be at odds with himself, and this goes back to the Masters as well. It's just not quite going his way. The iron play isn't very good. He hits it like this big overdraw, and then when he hits a firm green like they were in Quail Hollow, it's just gonna canter off the back of a green. Like he said it himself, he's struggling to control his golf ball, and he's going back now to the lab, I suppose we'll call it, and try to get one sorted for Oakmont, as only Bryson would. But like I think he's still a major threat. He'll be up there at Oakmont. I think he may well be up there at Portrush as well, but definitely not clicking the way it was last year.
No, and it's his approach play, it's his iron play that's doing it on him. He's just leaving himself, because he's missing so many greens. But his short game, his short game outside of, even above Scottie, stuck out for me as being just the best man to get up and down. He struggled a little bit with the putter. I agree with you. He was hitting the ground on a few of the putts, which was strange to see.
Yeah, like it's always fun. Like, a lot of the commentators always are so skeptical about how is he going to get out of this short game predicament, because all the clubs are so upright. He does it 9 times out of 10. Like, it's not an issue. Like, I thought we'd moved on from this.
Yeah, but his distance, he took it to this golf course like nobody else did off the tee. I'm looking at his final round non-par 3 tee shots distances, right? So he's 304, 353, 335, 343, 329, 301, 336, 344, 317, 350, 322, 355, 331, and 343.
And that 301 was probably with a 7-iron or something, was it? He was laying
that's
up.
the thing. Like, he's not slowing down, and if anything, he's going deeper into it. I thought the lads were a little bit overcritical with him on Sky about him being one-dimensional. I'd agree with his iron play. He needs to soften things up a little bit, but I wouldn't call him one-dimensional.
Yeah, it's I get what they mean. Like, and a lot of the time they are very critical of Bryson. Like, they were at the Masters as well, but his irons, like, he seems to be hitting this draw all the time. Now, whether that's intentional or whether it's just a bit of an over one because he's losing that bit of control, but I do agree, like, he needs to hit the floatier, straighter one, maybe with a touch of left to right on it as well, just to be able to control his ball a bit more when he doesn't have, his A game with the irons. But like, he doesn't really do things by the book, so I doubt he'll ever do that.
Yeah, I just think he needs to change his irons. I'm not a big fan of those Avoda irons that he has with the bulls' faces on them, and you have to absolutely whack them. And like, he's gone down the rabbit hole of 1-length irons. I know he's not gonna come out of that anytime soon, but like, if it was such a massive thing, there'd be more players, and there's no one else on tour using him. Like, he's so out there and different. I don't know, and sometimes in the quest of wanting to seem to be more clever than other people, he goes down these rabbit holes and just gets himself stuck. I think if he was using, even stick with the 1-length, but get away from those like mad irons that he's using, and a more conventional head, I think he'd have a far better chance of being able to control just these approaches that are just coming in too fiery and too hot for him.
Yeah, like, the toe just seems to be flipping over a bit too much, and he's getting like a rake of topspin on his approach, and they don't go particularly high either, especially the longer irons. They are coming in very hot, which is obviously difficult to control. So maybe you're onto something there. Like, you'd know more about the technical side than I would. But certainly, like, you've Radar always banging on about, the angles on his irons. They're like, his 8 irons more like I think maybe a 7 or a 6 iron, like, just with strong lofts. Maybe that's something to do with it as well.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a bit mad. Right, we've waited long enough. Rory McIlroy. I don't know where to start with him this week. He annoyed me this week.
He didn't give us anything.
No, he annoyed me this week. He really annoyed me. Like, he deserves to be called out for, like, it's so hypocritical sometimes with Rory, and we give him the benefit of the doubt so many times over his attitude. And because he shares so much, sometimes he shares too much. But not to do media this week is just very, very hypocritical of him, and it's not even his approach to the media, like, and he gets it, like, because he's spoken about it before. Not doing media work there is giving two fingers to the fans, because the media are your only connection to the fans that week, be it TV, written, radio, whatever. Like, do something. And he's setting a dangerous precedent now. Like, Lowry's making a habit of not bothering his arse with the media. Tom McKibben a couple of days this week. Like, I'm looking at the Irish guys, didn't bother with media a couple of days, just walked by as well. Like, it's just he's setting a dangerous precedent, and I don't like the way we the Colin Morikawa thing a couple of, like, last month as well, of it's a danger, it's a slippery slope.
Yeah, like, ordinarily I wouldn't have had too much of an issue with him not doing media, because look, he wasn't going well in the tournament anyway, so in many respects he is an irrelevance. But it's your first major back, after winning the Grand Slam. You're the Masters champion. There's that side of it, and maybe you need to realize that this is who you are, this is why you should be talking. But maybe then he was given the radio silence because of what happened with the driver conformity issue on the Tuesday as well, and he didn't want to, I don't know, maybe fall into any traps or whatever, I don't know. But like, he played poorly all week, and then the fact he wasn't speaking, like, without Rory's influence in the major championship, you realize how dull things can be sometimes.
Yeah. No, I think he was pissed off, like, very pissed off about the driver stuff. That his name came out. Like, this really annoys me. I'll give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt on the driver thing early in the week, but, like, other people have come out. Scottie came out in his, and we'll go through his comments afterwards. Like, I think Rory probably felt a little thrown under the bus that leaked. After day one, they waited as well. The USPGA waited until, like, he had teed off 3 minutes in a second round to put a statement out on it when they did it. Like, everything's just so contrived, and so it just annoys me, this whole driver conformity thing. It first reared its head back in Portrush in 2019, and people have been talking about that since, about it was Xander that was the wrong side of it. Even Xander had comments to make on it this week about it. But yeah, there's so little transparency around this. It's like, it reminds me of the FFP in football, that they're just making shit up as they're going along. Because there's no
PGA of America deduct Everton 10 points.
Yeah, but that's it. So, like, they won't release anything on it. Like, they won't release how many drivers, what players, the sort of ratio of manufacturers and stuff like that. So the only news we've got this week is Rory McIlroy's driver and Scottie Scheffler's driver were both deemed non-conforming. We don't know. I'm reading reports online that there was as many as 10 competitors in the PGA were found to have non-conforming drivers.
Well, like, it's supposed to be confidential, so you shouldn't be name dropping. It's just I don't know why, but it's just the way it's supposed to be. And to name drop Rory, as you said, like, throw him under the bus when he's playing, like, is a really poor look from the PGA of America. And then the conformity thing as well is so finicky, because what makes a driver non-conforming? Like, the trampoline effect, it could happen during a round, like the speed they hit the ball at, and obviously the face on the driver wears down. Like, you think of the speeds these guys hit it, so they must be changing driver every 3 or 4 tournaments if that's the case. And
yeah, but this is the problem.
This is the problem, and
they're not.
There must be a fear then for players going out. Like, is my driver actually breaking the rules? Even though
there's not a fear. This is the thing. There's not a fear, because this is why they're all using last year's drivers still. They know they're hot, and they're hoping they don't get tested.
I don't know. I don't think anyone would be going out with the intention of playing an illegal piece of equipment.
No, but they don't question it. They know it's probably borderline spicy, but they're not arsed. They're not going to hand in their own driver and say, "Here, will you test that for me? It's really hot. It's really," like, why else is Rory and Scottie using last year's clubs? Why is Ludwig Aberg using a 2-year-old, 3-year-old Titleist driver? Like, you look at Bob McIntyre's club. You look at Justin Rose's bag.
Tom McKibben using 6-year-old irons this last week.
Yeah, but, like, this is the thing. And what really stuck out for me, I know he didn't mean it in this way, but Scottie in his post-round presser, my driver did fail me this week, Scheffler told the media, where I had a good feeling that it was going to be coming because I've used that driver for over a year. I was kind of fortunate for it to last that long. That's what I felt. So he knows.
He knows his driver's on the edge.
Yeah, he knows his driver's on the edge, and that's going to give him an extra 2, 3, 4 mile an hour of ball speed off the face. And this is something that needs to be looked at a lot more. Like he's inadvertently said there, yeah, I'm surprised it took this long for them to test my driver. You know, he's not looking to cheat or anything like that. It's for the USGA to implement the rules, but how they're going about it, how they're doing it is all wrong. Like it has to be. There has to be so much more transparency around this. And like for people that don't, like, you could get so deep into this. Like this is a pure Pandora's box of, like, I don't know if people won't be interested in like the makeup, the composition, why this is happening. So you're narrowing down, like you're thinning club faces, any repetitive strikes across a real defined area on, say, like there's a massive difference in this in COR and CT, which is what they test for, between carbon and titanium. So TaylorMade are the only ones using carbon in their face. Like their faces aren't getting thinner, and like it's so complex that like they have 60 layers of carbon all intertwined in their faces. People will see online with faces popping on drivers, bonding around the edges, bonded to titanium. They're getting like micro splinters apparently around the edges where it's bonded, and that's making the entire face really, really spicy, really hot, and getting a couple of miles extra club head speed. Whereas titanium is wearing out in spots in the middle, so you're getting hot spots, like in around a sweet spot in the middle. So this is such a deep Pandora's box that the USGA have opened up, and I don't know how they get around this unless they start putting rules on thickness of of faces on clubs, or going after MOI a little bit more on the forgiveness side. Or there's so many layers to this. Like the ball is one element that the PGA are one last week, like totally up against rolling back the ball. Then they bring in the USGA to test clubs, and they make an absolute hames of that with lack of transparency, who they're doing it with, why they're doing it with that player. Or it should be across the board. Like if you're in the top, if you make a Sunday at a golf event, at any event, all the drivers should be tested. If there was a rule there that morning before you go out, your driver gets tested maybe overnight on the Saturday into the Sunday, and you have a backup there, and that's it. Like the players are kind of half oblivious to this because it's so hard to test. It's so hard to do, and like I'm sure all the manufacturers on their own trucks are testing these themselves. But I'm not going to say they're turning a blind eye, but they seem to be turning a blind eye. There's not too many players getting their driver taken off them by their club manufacturer who are paying them and saying, no, you can't use that this week. That's above or beyond the legal limits. Like, you wait for an official to come and do it, and the rules are just not being enforced. They've made a mess of it. Like they've made a mess on putter donkeys years ago. They're making a mess of ball. They've let dry. Like it's the governing bodies that are at fault here. Like,
yeah, and there's no doubt as well that I think if you look at the stats anyway from how McIlroy drove the ball, particularly the first couple of days, there's no doubt that changing the driver up may well have had an impact on how he performed as well.
Yeah, it had an impact on him between his ears. But like Scottie Scheffler won the tournament with the exact same circumstances.
Yeah, but Scottie wasn't tested.
He was. That's what I'm saying. Scottie came out after. Scottie's driver was taken off him as well. He had to use a backup driver.
Oh, I didn't know you said that. I thought you said he had a feeling that his driver might have been on the limit during Sunday's final round.
No, he had a feeling that his driver was on the limit before, and he said, I'm surprised that no one has tested it up to now. And he said he felt kind of fortunate that it's lasted this long. So it was taken off him on the Wednesday, and he put a backup driver in play, exact same as Rory.
But the problem with this is, like, I haven't heard of driver conformity since the 2019 Open. I don't think, not in this, sort of context either. So, like, there's no regularity to this at all. Like, there is, as you said, there is no.
It's like FFP.
There is no, like, protocol, I suppose, towards this. Like, it comes in random fits and starts, and then it'll go away maybe until Oakmont, or maybe till the Open again in Portrush. But yeah, there's certainly it's almost like golf's version of like anti-doping. Like, are you using an illegal driver?
Yeah, no, it totally is, and it's going to be a blight on the game if they want to properly enforce this. Both the USGA and RNA need to have so much more transparency about how they're testing it. Like it, and it's just for the pros. It's like no one gives a crap. Like I'd say, anyone with a 4 or 5 year old driver, going out. Like I play with a lad every week that has a burner that's about 20 years old. Like this is the juiciest head. Like it's like Carl Lewis going around the place. Like Michelle Smith, I should be calling the driver. It's just juiced, and that's it. But no, they just need to do so much on it. It's going to become a massive problem as they go after the equipment manufacturers on putting limits on and putting restrictions on. They just need to be so clear about what they're doing, but they're not. They're not being clear, and the manufacturers are so far ahead of them with R&D and with ways around things and with manufacturing processes that, yeah, I just don't know how they're going to keep a lid on this going forward. And it's just going to be controversy after controversy after controversy. Because, like, it leads to silly headlines. Like, there's gobshites online saying, oh, we'll put an asterisk beside Rory McIlroy's Masters win because he used a non-conforming driver. Chances are he probably did. But who was there to test it?
Yeah, that's the problem.
So it's their problem. It's not McIlroy's problem. But yeah, I don't know how they get around this. But yeah, it's like a Pandora's box.
I have a QI 10 driver that I got last year, and this carbon face started off blue, but it's gone red. Am I in trouble?
No, that's the golf balls. That's range balls. Discolouring it. But if you hop it off a pat out the front a few times, you might loosen it up a bit, get a bit of spring off it. Just keep forcing it off a wall for a few weeks.
I took a chip out of it on Friday, so it's definitely it might not be non-conforming, but it might be on its last legs.
It's definitely on its last legs if that's the case. But yeah, no, that's rant over and that. But no, Rory McIlroy anyway, getting back, we started off on Rory, we ended up going a rant on technology. Like through 2 rounds, he was ranked outside the top 100 in putting, driving, and approach play. Like that is not the Rory McIlroy. Part of it is, yeah, he's reverting back to typeset the way he was for a few years. But like those stats are bad. It's just I'm hoping it's too soon after the Masters win for him. He's just not firing. He's not settled down yet. But if we see similar in Oakmont, I would get very worried about Rory.
Yeah, like it was only ever going to be. There's 2 sides of the coin. It was like, he was either going to win last week and go and try and win all 4, or he was going to do what he did. And I think by Oakmont he'll have woken up a bit more. Like it's just such a high to try and lift yourself back up from. It's almost like losing in devastating fashion. It's that same loss of adrenaline. That sort of like your body just flops, and all the emotion you had for like the last 11 years just poured out on that 18th green in Augusta. And look, he rightfully has enjoyed himself over the last few weeks. And it's like we all think these like sports people, and no matter what sport they're in, like high performance athletes, and they're all professionals, but they're also human beings as well. Like it's completely understandable if he has taken his foot off the gas mentally, if not physically.
Yeah, I would say mentally he definitely has, and that's not a bad thing. Like you need to celebrate your wins. Like we're not saying he's out in the piss every night of the week, just celebrating with the lads, going flat out around Florida, drinking pints with anyone that wants. But he mightn't be putting in the reps like he was beforehand. He has said himself he's reached every dream, every goal he's ever wanted now, and that's it. And it'd be very hard to reassess and go for something mid-season. It's where Bob Rotella is going to come into his own, you'd hope, between now and Oakmont and now in the Open, and Rory will find, like, he's in the middle of a house move now as well. Like he's moving to London as well. So it's there's a lot of change going on in his life.
Yeah, I think the Open he'll be absolutely fine because he'll be back into like a pressure pot scenario where it is going to be, you know, tunnel vision, narrow focus. All the eyes will be on him, like playing in front of his home fans. What happened 6 years ago as well, like that'll sharpen him up. I think even if he has been putting in the reps, he's coming like all that sort of pressure that he's had to deal with over the last 10 years, that determination, like to just go back to the well, go back to the well, go back to the well. That's all gone now. So he almost has to, you know, reassess things mentally. And yeah, he almost is kind of getting going again in terms of not having when he said like when he comes to a major now, like for however long he continues in his career, it's always going to be a different feeling to what he's had over the last 10, 11 years.
Yeah.
So that is something to get used to, in fairness to him.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. Shane Lowry, you mentioned him earlier on in the pod. He obviously missed the cut. Like we only had McIlroy and McKibben make the cut. But yeah, Lowry, it was pretty unfair circumstances that like he just hates this golf course, full stop. And we called it out last week. Like he had no interest.
No, and that like every golfer has a course or two, or maybe all of them that you end up hating. But like it just so happened that unfortunately, this was at a major championship, and Larry was in such great form coming into this. But you never felt for 1 second like he was going to contend here at all. Like even though he was outside of McIlroy and Scheffler, probably the most consistent player behind them. And he just turns up and he just doesn't like the place. And it was almost fitting that he ended up missing the cut in the circumstances that he did, because it was just like the most perfect ending to like just this nightmare that he seems to have whenever he turns up at Quail Hollow.
Yeah, it was a disaster. Like, what were your thoughts on it? Did you see his comments on it? Like the ESPN guy came across and got involved. He basically said to them, "Who asked you? Keep your nose out of this."
Exactly. Like he's dead right. The ESPN guy should be nowhere near there. He's not a rules official.
Yeah,
A
and
rules
like
official is supposed to make that judgment, and if you're a rules official and you're obviously, there's a chance you will be influenced the more voices that are, you know, pounding into your ears. But he was desperately unlucky.
well,
with that.
that's where Lowry was questioning the USGA guy and all, he was questioning the rules official to say if this happens at 7 o'clock in the morning and there's no live scorer going around, I'm 320 yards back there in the tee. And yeah, we've seen our ball bounce, but like it could be a secondary bounce that does that. The fairways are that wet. So at 7 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning, whoever lands in that gets a drop because they just call the referee and they say, "Oh, that ball's embedded there. We were back there." There's no one there to verify anything. It looks like it's in its own place. That's the point he was making, but it's kind of an irrelevant point. Like the right rule was implemented, but I could see why he was trying to make that. He was trying to get the referee to make a decision without him saying what he thought. Again, you're stepping as close to the rules as you can, and like making the referee make a decision. But the ESPN guy just got involved and said, "No, your ball bounced back there. That's not your pitch mark. You're not due a drop from that." And he's just like, "Will you get out of my face, son?" And just
It's a heck
lost
of
the
a
plot.
pitch mark to land in when it's not your own either,
Yeah,
as well. Like if you're just seeing the actual still image of his ball, like, and that ball is embedded, in fairness, like, and you're just seeing that as a still image, you're thinking, how has he not got a drop? But obviously it wasn't his pitch mark,
yeah.
which is even more bizarre and just the most ridiculous piece of bad luck you could ever get. Like Shane, any luck he has there is all bad. Like,
Yeah.
so it was fitting.
He'll use this last week and a half, 2 weeks, because he's been so close to things. Oakmont is going to be great to see with him because he is going there with a point to prove and a game to back it up, to a place that he actually really likes, and knowing that he's Port Rush then in the background. So yeah, I'm Team Lowry for the next month. I think he's going to do special things over the next month.
Yeah, and obviously the Open is the big one, but Oakmont suits him down to the ground. The way he can drive the ball tee to green, like he's as good as anybody. So, and especially going there as well, probably a bit of a point to prove considering what happened to him on the Sunday in 2016 at the US Open. Like that will be playing on his mind, and he'd be definitely a good bet for the next two majors, 100%.
Well, I've already got my bet on for the next major, as you remember. Harris English, I called him out there to start
Harris
the
English,
season.
yeah, he's up there.
US Open each way.
T2 again.
Another banging up there. So yeah, I'll stick him on with Harris English. But yeah, two boys, ballers. lastly, before we move on from the PGA, Tom McKibben, he showed signs, but then sort of faded a little bit.
Yeah, it's similar to the Open in Troon, showed signs and then kind of just flittered away over the weekend. But really, really good stuff over the first 2 days. And at one stage, he was within 5 of the lead. And if he could have just got himself in an upward motion, like you don't know like where he could have been. But like again, like 3 majors, 3 cuts. What more do you want when you're just starting off in your career?
It's very positive. It is very positive, and like I don't know, he'll have to go to the US Open qualifiers. I think for that he's made that through last year. I think he made through US Open qualifiers, didn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah, he's. I don't know what he's like ranking wise. I don't think he's in that tournament, so he'll.
No, he has to go to qualifying. Yeah.
Yeah, go to qualifying and try and get it done that way. So hopefully he does, but if not, he's all set up nicely for a nice stint in Portrush anyway. On home soil.
He had his first under par round ever in the major on the Thursday, and then he'd won birdie 16 pairs and he bogeyed the last in like a second round, which was honestly like he wasn't going to win. So I really want him to par that last hole to have back-to-back under par rounds in a major. It would have been just like a really nice thing to have. But unfortunately, he couldn't do it. But like really good signs again.
Yeah. No, I'm all positive. I'm all positive around Tom. Right, moving on. Roundup with a couple of things happening. So Brendan Lawler, G4D Open champion, first win in over a year. Delighted for Bren.
Delighted for him, yeah, because he's been knocking on the door for so long trying to get a win on the G4D, and obviously Kip Popford's been the man to stand in his way each and every time. So second G4D win in 3 years. And I think there's we obviously talked about it earlier on a mag call saying, well, he had to win because Kip wasn't playing. But like in many ways, that brings its own pressures. Like I'm sure he would have seen Kip withdrawing there and thinking, right, I actually have to go and win this because I should be winning this. I'm always the next man in behind. And so it's actually not easy to go out and win pretty convincingly when that's in the back of your mind. You're the man to beat. Like it's a different thing being hunting and then being the hunted. So yeah, I think he'd be pretty pleased with that.
He did so much for disability golf last year by hosting that event in Carton House that we went out and played in as well, and brought them all there and had a prize fund and put a tournament together like that to make them feel like a professional outfit. You could see that outpouring of joy that all of his fellow players coming onto the green and throwing water over him at the end. Like you could see that joy is there. How much Brendan is liked on that circuit. And the work that he puts in away from his own game to try and pull everybody along with him, because I think Brendan, the amount of times I've spoken to him and what I've done, he appreciates the opportunities he's had and is getting and has had up to this, and he really wants everybody that plays the G4D to have the same opportunity and access to finances and sponsors and to try and make a dream come true. So no, it was evident that they like the outpouring of love for him is so good, and on social as well. It's great to see everyone from every walk of life just wishing him well after his win. Like he said in his own interview, like this is their only major championship like that the RNA have put on, the G4D Open Championship. He's won 2 of them now, so yeah, he's doing well for himself.
Yeah, like as you said there, he carries the tour on his back a lot of the time as well. Actually, it's more popular than I suspected to be. A lot of like people I was talking to over the weekend, knew Brendan won. They're like, oh yeah, Brendan's playing well, or Brendan Lawler's after winning again. So they know that like the G4D is on the map in terms of getting that sort of your casual, I suppose, fan getting interested in it, which is obviously brilliant.
And he's a massive part of that, being on the map. So yeah, fair play to him.
Shame he's from Louth.
I knew you'd get that dig in. Knew you'd get that dig in. Speaking of Louth, going back, Dundalk Scratch Cup.
Yeah, the fucking Keelan Rafferty
Scratch Cup. He retained it for I don't know how many times.
The millionth time.
36-hole Scratch Cup. He shot a final 6 under par 66. Give him a 4 under par total of 140. Finished 4 shots ahead of your man from the Irish Amateur there, Jared Dunn, last week, and Gavin Tiernan as well. Both County Louth men chasing him down. But yeah, Keelan is some piece of work in this tournament.
Yeah, honestly, I must be like a private joke as well. Whenever it's in Dundalk, it's like, oh yeah, it's Raf's thing to win. But in fairness, like you still have to get over the line, and it was a busy week for Scratch Cups across the weekend. Quinton Carew winning in Castleknock, big weekend for the home Scratch Cup wins, and then Cian Harkin won in Dukes as well. So he's a Maynooth University man, so always good to see the boys doing well.
Yeah. Anything else in roundup you want to touch on before we get into heroes and villains?
Just Lauren Walsh, top 8 finish on the LET last week at the Dutch Ladies Open. Again, like in the mix, and like speaking to Shane O'Grady earlier, actually, he was saying, "Oh, look, the win is just so unbelievably close," and he just thinks it's a case of the amount of times you get yourself into that top 10 leaderboard at some stage, things are going to fall your way, and it'll be you standing up on top. So, they have a big stretch of European golf between now and the KPMG Women's Irish Open, and I actually would expect her to get a win at some stage.
Be
Hopefully
savage.
at Carton House, but honestly, like it's so close, and she's well aware of it as well, and she just carries it as if it's nothing, which is equally impressive.
Imagine how big for the event if she gets a win between now and the event. How big that'll be. She's coming home. It's on her doorstep as well in Kildare, right beside Castle Borden. You've Carton House where it's on. So, yeah, no, looking forward to that. Right, heroes and villains. Let's start off with the Gary Player villain of the week.
Claude Harmon.
Okay, this is a curveball.
He is useless on comment. He is absolutely stone useless. I was watching it on Thursday. I should have wrote down what he said, but I didn't. But he was just talking some amount of nonsense, and I have to, like, he just doesn't seem to know what's going on. I think he was saying, I think one of the lads, it could have been Schofley, had to get up and down for a bogey, I think, and he was saying, oh yeah, he's up and down now for his birdie here, and he wasn't even paying attention. And then Andrew Coulthard as well, who I'm not a fan of, I have to give him a sly mention as well. Just a man I don't think just doesn't do his research. He said, oh, Justin Rose withdrew last week. Hopefully it's nothing physical. He was ill. Like, he put it out on Twitter. Like, everyone knows he was ill. Like, it's not that you're supposed to be doing your notes. Like, you're a commentator. You should be jotting these things down. I found the Sky coverage recently to be quite poor.
Yeah, I'd go along with you on that. Like, Radar and Nick Doherty bring the juice to what they're doing. Even Henny, I found Henny really good over the last while in studio as well, doing stuff. But yeah, what really annoyed me about the Sky coverage was they do the Rolex hour and it's meant to be ads free, and then they show feck all golf. It's all back to the studio for discussions and chats and stuff like that. I just want to see golf.
Yeah, I like Henny, but I think, like, it's just such a weird thing. They're casting her back into the studio where she's on her own.
Yeah,
and like, it doesn't feel like she's part of it, if you get what I mean. Whether if she was there, at the Sky Cart doing those things, it would look and feel a lot better.
Yeah, no, I agree. Right, so you've had 2 nominations there for the Gary Player. I'm gonna go. I've 2 as well. So I've the USGA just for being absolutely incompetent on everything from their testing of clubs to their protocols around it. So I'll stick them in as a nomination, and then I'm gonna actually throw Rory under the bus this week as a villain. I just not doing media is a massive thing. He just needs to get over himself. Very hypocritical. I've given him the benefit of the doubt. Like, Rory is, I'm a fanboy at the end of the day. Anyone that listens knows that, but it's not all about the media. It's about the connection to the fans. Like I said earlier on, him not doing media takes a lot away from any golf tournament when he's there. It's expected. It should be part of what they do. The sooner the better to get these boys contracted and make them do stuff like this, because it is part of the job, and that's just it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like, who's your Porrick Harrington hero of the week?
Well, there's 4. We have to select one out of them 4. Who are we giving it to?
The
villain. I'm going Rory. I'm going hard on Rory.
Right, go on. You can have Rory.
Because we glorify him so much. He deserves to be called out in weeks like this, right? Hero of the week. Simple one is Brendan Lawler. I've 2 written down. Simple one's Brendan Lawler. I'm just going to give him a mention this because he deserves a hero's mention. But my actual hero of the week is Alex Noren. I've always liked Alex Noren. To see him come back like 7 months away from the game with a hamstring tear, and 1 week after coming back, he's in the last group with Scottie Scheffler in a major. Like, total. This lad is just the ultimate range rat. We've all seen the pictures of his hands, of the callus, how hard he works at his game, what he stands for, what he's about. I've always had a soft spot for him. Yeah, so he's definitely getting my nod for Hero of the Week.
Yeah, I felt bad that he couldn't at least hold on to a top 10 finish.
Yeah, he bogeyed the last, dropped him down to 18th. It's like the difference between 6th and 18th was mental.
Like, yeah, and like he would have, like, I think that would have got him into
next year's.
Would have got him into the Masters, because I know Harrington finished 4th and he got into the Masters the next year.
Yeah.
So what a shame. But brilliant to see him back, and his range routine is hilarious. The coach, like, literally turning his
grabbing his knees.
Oh, it was brilliant.
But that's the first tournament he's played since the 6th of October. It's crazy when you think of it. Right, do you have any nods for heroes?
Yeah, I've gone with Bryson.
Yeah.
For a couple of reasons. I just think I know he pisses a lot of people off, but I do think he's a great sportsman. I think, like, he was classy the way he congratulated Xander last year, and he was there again to congratulate Scottie. And I know at the time we gave McIlroy a bit of a pass for, kind of zooming off in his Lexus after the US Open, but Bryson sticks around, in fairness to him. And there's also a video then of him going over to the Sky car.
I seen that.
He's like punching himself in the face, and it's brilliant. He's just nuts.
Yeah, no, I do. I have a soft spot for Bryson. Like, I do. Because he's so relatable. Like, he's unrelatable to what he does distance wise, but then the mistakes he makes are so relatable, and how he vocalizes the journey that he's on. Like, yeah, it's good. He's box office. He is box office.
Yeah, game needs him.
Game does need him. Right, so it's between Bryson and Alex Noren for Hero of the Week.
I'll give it to Noren.
Good man.
I think give it to Noren. Yeah.
Good man. Because Bryson will be hero status going forward. We don't know when we'll see Noren again.
We'll never see Alex again.
Poor old Alex. Right, that's a wrap for this week, I think. We have kept you long enough this week going through the PGA. There's plenty of action available on irishgolfer.ie all week. Are you travelling anywhere this week, Ronan? Are you off to anywhere glamorous?
I honestly have no idea.
We're trying to get a mag to bed. That's why we're all consumed by that. But like the WPGA is actually on up in Donegal. That kicks off Tuesday, Wednesday. That'll be on. So that's a women's PGA event. Lynn McCool hosting that event up there in Donegal. So plenty of good stuff going on up there. But outside that, you can keep up to date with everything, all the fallout and recaps of the PGA and everything going on in Irish golf. Just visit irishgolfer.ie. And before we log off, again, a quick shout out to Flowgas. Visit flowgas.ie, be it for personal energy needs for your home or for your business, for business plans. If you want gas, electricity, solar, they've plans for everything. And like John Rooney said when we had him on a couple of weeks ago, there's little to be chosen between prices of all the different. They're all buying off the same grids at the same prices. Flowgas, Back Golf. Do have a look if you're up for your energy bills over the next month or so. Have a look, give them a consideration, and there's plenty of good stuff going on to keep you involved. If you have kids or anything like that, like they're giving away the Emerald Park tickets as well. So visit flowgas.ie for all your energy needs. Right, that's a wrap, Ronan.
We're back to the mag.
Back to the mag. Right. Cheers for tuning in, everyone. We'll chat to you next week. All right. Bye.